Mike from Humble Running, and welcome to a beautiful sunny blue sky day in the Boise foothills. What a great day it is to be out on the trails, and to be out on the trails in the Norda 005. Also a great day to be able to talk about the Norda 005. I've had these shoes since November when I picked them up at TRE. I've been running in them, even racing in them. If you recall, you picked these shoes for me to run the Wilson Creek 20 miler, a race that I got first place in. This is Humble Running, I'm not bragging. Not a major race, but still a serious race in terms of terrain, ups and downs, serious climbing, serious descents. Great test for this shoe. Loved it in that race. As you can see here, I only have one pair of the Norda 005s on my feet. The other side, I have the NNormal Kjerag, whatever it is. What does that mean? I'm going out for some on the run A/B testing today. I have these two shoes. I also have an OG Salomon S Pulsar. I kind of thought to kick things off with the Norda, I would start off with the lightest trail shoes that I have that are made for a kind of distance, not like super speedster shoes. I have some other lightweight options, but in terms of shoes that are designed or have the potential to go for longer ultra distances, these are the options that I'm going to test out first. Of course, as I continue on my A/B testing, now that I have the 005s fully released and in the mix, you want to see the shoe up against other shoes on my other foot, let me know down below in the comments. Let's get to the run. All right, I figure I'd make an early stop here. I'm not gonna do a close-up on the uppers yet. Just first impressions off the bat. I feel like these shoes feel and ride very similarly. They both have that wide forefoot, so a lot of times I like that wide forefoot because I feel like it doesn't restrict the ball of my foot, and more so like under the ball of my foot, and also the toes a little bit from spreading out on impact. So I just feel like I naturally get a very good ground feel when I have a nice or spacious enough toe box, not excessively wide, ultra wide, even topo wide, but there's definitely enough there where I really feel great ground feel with both of these shoes. So quick note, the Norda is finally being announced today. It will be available for purchase within a couple weeks on the Norda website. I'm gonna put the exact date in the description below. I don't wanna say it out loud here in case anything changes. As you can see, agility is excellent with both of these shoes. Really feel comfortable hopping around, throwing my feet wherever they need to be. Whoop. Whoop. That were some big hops there. All right, we're gonna head up the left side here, being that the trails are so firm and I'm out here early. Climbing in lightweight shoes like these, it's just awesome. 8.5 ounce in the Norda, 8.2 in the NNormal. They're just so light. So extremely low weight for both of these shoes relative to kind of what you get, the distance you can take them, Norda 8.5 again, the normal 8.2. In terms of climbing, as I'm still going up, the flexibility, something I love in a shoe. Something I love in general, and something I love especially for everyday running. Both shoes, the Norda has no plate, the normal has no rigid plate. I believe it has some type of thin film, similar to a Salomon Flex film, very minimal. I wouldn't say it protects much at all, especially given that the stack is so minimal. Maybe it might blunt a sharp point here or there, but I wouldn't count on it for rock protection. But it's flexible. Both shoes flex really well. They feel great climbing. No interference, no sense that I have to kind of work to kind of flex them. The lightweight and the flex, great combination going uphill. So coming down this descent here, I'll start talking about the ride. Both shoes, like I said, feel similar, very similar. The difference in cushion is noticeable. Put the stack below. There's more underfoot for sure with the Norda. They feel similar, but the 005 just feels more forgiving, of course. I would say in terms of foothold, the normal shoe feels a bit more dialed around the midfoot actually. Again, I like both wide forefoots, but it seems like the normal has a matrix upper, so it seems like the material wraps the foot a little closer, a little bit more dialed in the shoe rack. The 005 has that internal strapping. Do a close-up later. So, especially at the beginning of runs, I can feel that strapping against the sides of the middle of my foot on both sides, but then the feeling goes away after like a minute or two. It's not like anything digging into the side of your foot, nothing like that. So I feel those straps giving tension, good amount of foothold, but the Dyneema upper itself is there's a little bit of space in between those straps and the upper, even when I have it tensioned down with my lacing. So the actual, at least for my volume foot, the actual material of the upper itself is not fully strapping, so to speak, against my foot. So if you have a high volume foot, you may have a different kind of feel there. You may feel the strap and the upper material itself on the outside, both of them give you a more secure wrap against the foot. For me, I'm kind of like just a little on the edge. Feels like slightly more volume in the upper material itself for my foot. So the stacks on these, they're listing 28.5 for the 005. They're listing 23.5 for the normal. They keep putting 28.5 in the press release and all the stuff I see for the Norda shoe, but I could have swore I measured 34. I'm gonna go back after this and double check. It definitely feels like when I think 28, maybe it's because I'm thinking top of the foot to ground surface. When I think 28, that seems on the thinner side to me. It definitely feels more than that, or at least it gives a more protective feel. Again, I'm gonna double check that measurement myself. But relative, running into a little bit of mud there. Wonder if it's one spot. Might turn around anyway. Plenty of dry, yeah, let's turn around. Plenty of dry trails down here. So, relative to the normal, it does feel about 5 mils higher. And that's gonna make a big difference for sure for I would say, I don't know, 95% of runners out there, excluding, say, Kilian and Dakota Jones. Except I did talk to Dakota Jones. I asked him about using these shoes at Hard Rock, and he kind of was like, yeah, I wish I maybe had a little more underfoot. He's actually raced in the Tomir after that. But the next Kjerag is changing foam to TPE and adding, I believe, 2 mil front and back. So I think they kind of realized that for most people, a Kilian level shoe doesn't necessarily work. But I actually forgot how good this shoe is. It feels great. Like if you like ground feel and want a dialed fit, oh, it's a great shoe. Again, just so in comparison to the Norda, yeah, the 5 mil is clearly noticeable. More, you have a similar, very similar, flexy, smooth, comfortable feel, but with an extra 5 mil, you're not losing any flexibility, you're not losing any, or hardly any ground feel with the extra 5 mil. You're probably getting a bit more reactivity because it's a TPE foam. The normal is supercritical EVA, so the Norda definitely has a more advanced foam. Definitely feels more energetic, more reactive, dynamic, whatever, bouncy, whatever you want to call it. It's all of that. It's great. Compared to the normal, especially having both shoes on one foot. Yeah, normal feels less dynamic for sure. Maybe you get more ground feel, but again, you're sacrificing cushion and protection, especially the longer you go. You know, you see how this is a little bit wider, so I feel like that makes the upper material really wrap against the side of my foot. And again, this is a matrix upper. You can see these kind of threads, Kevlar threads going here. So I feel like this fit in this area right here is better with the normal shoe. It's wider here, so that allows it to really snug down from the sides. Here, at least, this is a 9.5, by the way. This is a 10, and I feel like there's more space in this 9.5. My toe is right here than this 10. My toe is kind of right here. So there's more space in the 9.5 than the Norda 10. So I mentioned in my full review on Road Trail Run, which is live now, I would definitely go a half size up on this, maybe a full size. I did the 20-mile race in this shoe and I was perfectly fine, but if I wanted to go, say, 50-mile, 100K plus, I would want a 10.5, which is a full size up for my true to size in this shoe. So coming back to this is, you see how this is slightly narrower, and you can see, it's hard to tell, but there's a little, like, this material on the sides here doesn't fully wrap against and around my foot as this one. So it's a little less styled, but not bad. I'll pop this off. These laces are also Dyneema, by the way. Apparently they're super durable and lighter, so that's good. So popping this off, you see, I'll throw pictures if this doesn't come out. There's an internal strap here, and this is on both sides, and you see how it's not connected to this upper. So at least in the initial stages when I start my runs in these, see how it also connects to these two gillies here. So you have regular lace holes everywhere else, but then you have these gillies tied into these midfoot kind of straps. They're calling this fit lock, which is the same as VJ called, actually, but they have a little different on the exterior. So yeah, I feel this on the side of my foot, but you can also see it overlaps with the gusseting, so you don't feel any of this edging. Like if you're super sensitive in that way, this is overlapping, so you feel this smooth gusset in front between this strapping and your foot. So I feel these straps definitely wrapping in when I tension this down, I feel the strapping here, but it's hard to see. Maybe if I pinch it a little, the upper doesn't quite squeeze down. It's the strapping that holds the foot, which, again, like I said on the run, it may vary. If you have a higher volume foot than me, you'll be probably a little wider, and then you will feel kind of the upper wrapping around your foot. For me, the strapping, it works well, and I guess it's good in a way because you can see here, it doesn't really, there's no restriction. Like, I don't feel any squeezing, which is really, I hate in shoes when the upper squeezes the foot from the sides too much. That's why this is great, because I like that here, but not here. I'm sweating, it's hot. So that's why I said in my full review that I think this is adaptable for a lot of runners' feet because of that strapping, and because the upper is kind of has a more of a boxy fit, especially through here. But it seems adaptable due to the strapping and also oh, I doubled this up. Due to the strapping and also just the kind of a nice, comfortable volume in the upper. Just check, be sure to check on length, okay? Definitely run short. So aside from the length, this will be probably more adaptable for most runners than this shoe. This shoe, if you have problems with snug, narrower shoes, like I don't have a wide foot, as you can see, like comparing both of these shoes, but if you do have a wide foot, I could see how this could be tight for some. It's like perfect for me, but I know people complain, Salomon, Kilian shoes, whatever, that they're too tight for some. So I'm gonna rock on back down to base camp right now, carrying this Pulsar shoe in my bag, but I think I may like drop off my gloves or my buff, and it's warm. One thing that I'm feeling that I don't remember with the normal shoe is I'm feeling some rubbing on the inside of my foot above the arch area. I'm not sure what that is. To check, I'm gonna pop the shoes off right here. So I actually did wear these shoes at Beaverhead 50K last year and wrecked my feet. There's a crazy, I don't know, it's at least a mile long, a boulder field. Like, not one of those kind of like slide outs that you have to kind of pass over, like straight on the Continental Divide, 9,000 feet, boulder field, like mile long. And this got torn up, my feet got wrecked. The lack of cushion, I'm not sure if I would take maybe I would, but the lack of cushioning in that race made me like shelve them for quite a while. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know, something, I just felt a little rubbing like right about here in this shoe. It could be this stitching. It actually does feel a little bit rough, this edging on this gusset. It could be that. That's interesting. I don't remember feeling that or ever having a problem. Looking at, let me just compare. Yeah, see the Norda is, I guess they wrap this, they wrap this over and then they stitch it on the tongue side. There is no stitching on this edge here in the Norda, like you have like it's kind of a thick thread here actually. I don't know, maybe if you're sensitive, that is one thing, detail that I have not noticed before. So I have carried this with me. Pulsar. So these two shoes, both designed by Kilian, you could see kind of the similar style in terms of ground platform. I'll throw the numbers up there. Very narrow under the arch. Also under the heel, very narrow. He definitely went wider. I think he probably determined that for longer distance he wanted a wider forefoot on this one. This is the original one, so I have kind of minimal lugs here. They have soft ground, newer versions. I haven't tested them. Yeah, so these are flattish lugs. Comparing them to the 005, I would say they perform similarly. You probably have more on the ground coverage with these, so possibly you get a little bite, but these are not deep lugs. They're not made, I would say, they're definitely not made for muddy or off-trail terrain, but I would say traction is probably similar, probably slightly better in this, but I'm talking about a slight edge here. Again, this is an older shoe, I'm not even going to discuss that one, but look at the difference in the ground platforms between these two shoes. I think this is the widest at the midfoot heel and forefoot. Somewhat similar to this shoe, but definitely compared to this one, this is completely narrow. This is ridiculous. So this is a 6.5 ounce shoe, by the way. I just threw this in there because, you know, this is the Kilian shoe. He kind of graduated to this brand and this shoe, and this seems like probably, although Kilian's not involved, a next gen iteration in this style of a lightweight, not a max stack, but, you know, healthy stack here. That's the big difference between these shoes. These are super lightweight, 8.2, 6.5. This is 8.5, slightly heavier, but the difference in cushion is big between this shoe and these two. Definitely noticeable. So at a minor increase in weight, you're getting a big increase in cushion and feel. So let's see, I did bring a different sock because I got these regular Smart Wool socks on. That's also a 9.5, the Pulsar, but extremely tight race fit. You could almost wear these without the lacing. Like this goes on like a glove. This on. Yeah, I mean, these feel like nothing on the foot almost. These feel light, of course, but when I step, I obviously feel more cushion, absolutely, and the width, for sure. More stability. These are just like pinpoint. Like you have to be pinpoint on these. Pretty striking first impression having both of these shoes on my feet. Pulsar on the left, 005 on the right. Definitely, I did misspeak earlier. These are actually listed higher than the normal shoe. So these are listed 24.5, the Pulsar, and the normal's listed 23.5, which is interesting because these feel way closer to the ground. I don't know if the normal includes outsole or whatever, has deeper lugs than at least this original Pulsar that I have. Or it could just be due to the width, especially at the forefoot. In a narrower shoe, the ground force is transmitted through a more concentrated area. I can definitely feel the pressure more on my left foot with this one. With both the normal and the 005, again, that wider base, allowing me to have my forefoot and even toes spread out, even with a minimal difference in stack height between the Pulsar and the normal shoe. It just feels more comfortable in the normal shoe. Feels like less ground impact is getting transmitted through. And especially with the Norda, softer, more cushioning, definitely feels more comfortable. I had a few kind of steps back there in that section with the Pulsar where I noticed definitely a wobble on my left foot. You need to be very precise. Not much room for error. You could easily turn your ankle in these if you're not careful. But then again, they're super light, so I think you just have to be in that frame of mind that you're not gonna just plow your way through everything. You're gonna have to maybe slow down your kind of foot strike pattern or mentality or whatever. Focus on being more precise and let that extreme light weight make up for the difference. So you could pay attention to being more precise and then say, okay, I got 2 ounces less on this foot. That's gonna come into play at some point, energy-wise, efficiency-wise. I can't believe I wore these shoes for a 50-miler. I cannot believe it. Whatever that was, 3 years, maybe more than 3 years ago. This shoe's quite a... Yeah, this shoe, I don't know. Yeah, gotta get wet there. But it was the hot shoe at the time. I mean, even now, 6.5 ounces is pretty insane. Kilian was wearing them at Sierra Zanal. But since the time this shoe came out, big improvements in technology, shoes, foam, but it's still reigns supreme in terms of lightweight. So I am getting the hang of these Pulsars again. A little wobbly at the start. Whenever you switch shoes like that, it's just like, ooh, you notice the differences immediately. Then they kind of sink in. So getting comfortable with them, they felt great. Obviously much better going uphill. Don't have to worry about stability as much. Picking your way at moderate grades, kind of at speed with this kind of light shoe is pretty awesome. Then coming back down, of course, it just depends on your comfort level with this kind of narrow shoe underfoot. The security is great. Doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. Doesn't feel like it's moving at all on my foot. So probably out of the three shoes, the most precise fit. Of course, midfoot heel, of course, but then it's just narrower up front, so you're obviously more dialed at the forefoot than the other two shoes, but that comes at the cost of comfort. But for shorter distances, faster stuff, it's great, as long as you're okay with that narrow platform. I've seen some comments about the Salomon having that kind of banana shape underfoot, more of a rocker profile, very rounded from middle of the foot up to the toes and also the heel. Pretty rounded, steady rocker. Sort of similar to the older Vectives, but this shoe is way lighter and way more flexible, so I don't really find that a hindrance, as opposed to, say, the narrowness being a factor that you have to account for. The rocker, really, if you're landing midfoot, forefoot, I don't think it really affects too much. The shoe is flexing into your foot strike over the ground. It's not like you're being thrown off. I'd say you're more thrown off by the shoe being narrow than the actual rocker shape. Walk a little bit here so I can talk on this uphill. As far as weight, yeah, this is way 2 ounce lighter on the Pulsar, but I mean, at a certain point, especially at kind of the middle of the range, moderate range of pacing and terrain, once you get below 9 ounces, I mean, what are you really talking about? Yeah, going extremely fast or going on an extreme uphill, yeah, 6.5 ounces is going to be noticeably different. But moderate running, speeds, paces, moderate terrain, ups and downs, nothing crazy. 8.5 ounces here with the Norda is still incredible. I can't, like, honestly, yeah, this is a little tiny mud. I'll go through. It's fine up there. Honestly, going through here in the Norda and the Pulsar, even with that 2-ounce difference, I can't put too much between them as far as saying I'm dragging here. If I was in, 10-ounce, 11-ounce shoe versus, say, an 8-ounce, 9-ounce shoe, even though the difference is the same in actual weight, I would feel that difference more, because that's kind of a tipping point where shoes just objectively start to feel heavy. Once you're dipping under 9 ounces, even 8.5 here with any shoe, they're just gonna feel light no matter what. So yeah, the Norda, especially the cushion compared to this one. I feel firmness with the Pulsar, firmness with the normal shoe, especially under the forefoot. Don't feel that with the Norda. The cushion just feels great. I feel definitely solidly protected. I talk about this in my Road Trail Run full review. I feel surprisingly protected in this Norda shoe. I think it's a pure TPEE. It's not infused with air bubbles or anything like that. Not blended or a half-half kind of midsole setup. So it just seems to, it doesn't bottom out. It seems to give back the energy quicker. Maybe doesn't compress as much. Even though it's not a high stack shoe, it feels almost as protective in terms of cushion, not necessarily rock plate wise, but the level of cushion protection feels similar in this shoe, and that's probably due to the TPEE not compressing as much, giving more energy. Yeah, it's a fantastic, game-changing midsole probably. All right, cruising on back for the final wrap-up. It's getting warm out here. I hope you did enjoy this ABC comparison. I know the Salomon and the normal shoe are not new shoes, but I thought it would be a good initial comparison to kind of think about the progression of super shoe technology, especially in the lightweight or super lightweight even unplated category. The Pulsar was, I call this the OG Pulsar, but it's probably the OG extreme lightweight trail running shoe, at least in the modern era. And of course, Kilian going to normal, the Kjerag kind of progressed some of his feelings and technology in terms of a lightweight shoe, extending that to ultra distances. And then I really think the Norda shoe here, although not affiliated with Kilian, is a progression of that type of shoe. Extreme lightweight, but taking the midsole foam to another level, widening the base a little, helping out more runners, a bit more volume in the upper, more compatible again with a wider range of runners. As I go down this kind of light descent here, I am reminded how much more easily I could get onto the heel of the 005. Definitely more of a crash pad for descents, which is definitely helpful for different sections of longer races. Both the Pulsar and the normal shoe, it's hard to be on the heel in those. They're so firm, and it's kind of like you gotta grit your teeth if you want to be on the heel on those during descents. The is much more comfortable to lean a little further back, take a little stress off the quads, or at least vary your foot strike a bit. Definitely going to be helpful for the majority of runners. So does this shoe live up to the hype? I'd say yes, it does. Looking at these three shoes, this is by far my favorite. I was surprised by how much I liked this shoe on the run, how great it felt, how dialed the fit felt between the midfoot and the forefoot, feeling great. I hadn't run in it in a while, so I was surprised that I liked the shoe, but I know that I've taken it, of course, that race I talked about, and also I had longer training runs in this shoe, and I definitely start to feel the kind of impact in my forefoot. Definitely starts to wear on you after a while. You need very strong feet in this shoe for sure. I feel like this just gives you everything that this shoe gives you, and gives you a more, look at that TPEE midsole. It just gives you more energy return, surely more cushion, more stability. It's wider. It's just, I think it's just an all-around more versatile shoe, certainly more than this one. This is a very sharp tool for a specific scenario. This is an all-around versatile shoe, of course, leaning minimal. This is kind of the best of both worlds. It's not quite max cushion. You're not going up to one of these big bulky shoes where you feel like you're steering a boat around, and perhaps you're, in terms of weight, dragging a boat around with you on your feet. You almost get that level of cushion, but you get the responsiveness of a lighter, faster shoe while also keeping flexibility. I mean, look at the flexibility of this shoe. Pretty much any direction, really great. Similar to the 001, and that shoe was so flexible, but that shoe had a not, the foam wasn't as nice. It was definitely thinner, and I felt kind of more impact getting through there. That was a more minimal shoe along the lines of this one. The 001 might be more comparable to this one. But in terms of the flexibility, very similar. But when you throw in this midsole, it just, wow, makes it so much better. Yeah, the price is $325. I had a question about daily trainers, and people asked me if you could train in the Tecton X3. Like, you can training in super shoes. It's a new thing. People are doing it on the road, on the treadmill. You know, it's, you know, you're kind of minimizing impact when you train in super shoes. And this, you know, it's not a huge cushion super shoe, but it's just so versatile. And again, I can't speak highly enough about it. It feels like it could be an everyday shoe. Like, I could wear this shoe every single day and feel comfortable and race in it, for that matter. Of course, you're going to spend $325, but with this Dyneema upper, Dyneema laces, in fact, I believe they have tested that this is extremely durable. This shouldn't pack out. It shouldn't kind of pancake out like maybe some other midsoles do. So you should get more mileage out of these. Of course, Vibram Mega Grip Elite here, that's going to be durable. I would say that you would get more mileage out of these than your typical pair of shoes. I don't know if that gets to the level of being worth $325, but it's something to think about. You're not just paying for a shoe that's going to get beat up and, you know, it's a one-time reserve for race day use kind of a deal. Like I said, I feel like I could race in this and run it every day. Really great. So head over to roadtrailrun.com website. The full review is live right now. So if you want specifics about this shoe, I also have the comparisons to the more recent shoes, not these older ones, on the website there. Peruse through that list, and again, let me know if you would like to see me run with this 005 on one foot and perhaps one of those other shoes. I could think of a few that people have already asked about, and I could think of a few that are really good ones. So yeah, I'm up for it. Now that it's released, I'm raring to go, raring to get in some A/B tests. So hope you enjoyed this one. Just taking a little walk around there, and it's actually the front side of this gusset. Let me get the shadow out of the way. the front side where that seam kind of touches right in there, right there, put an arrow on there. That seam is where I'm getting rubbing in this. Again, it's stitched heavily in this shoe, whereas the Norda has a kind of smooth, unstitched seam. I may actually, now that I've had this shoe for a while, I may actually rip this gusset out, see if that feels better.